Hey, what's up, guys?
Welcome back to another week of our quarantine special.
With Coffee Breakup. Thank you for tuning
That is
in.
us. Thank you very much, guys. Before we begin, very quickly, I'm going to run through it. Click the link in our bio. Follow us. Comment. Subscribe. Write to us. Whatever you want.
Let us know.
More interaction for us is more interaction for you, and more interaction for everybody else. Everybody help everybody. That's the goal. That's the plan.
That's the motto.
That's the motto. Go ahead, Marvin.
Let's do it. Let me take it away. This week, we're going to be talking about learning how to be alone.
Yes.
I think it's a really big one. I think it's very relevant in our generation as well. Maybe more so than ever. We've talked about this off camera quite a few times. I've been single for over a year now, and you've been single for quite some time as well.
Yeah.
I never struggled with the idea of being alone. I've embraced it, but I do know I get a lot of people asking me, how I see it myself. I see people jumping from one relationship to relationship, or I remember somebody told you, hey, I don't like being alone, straight up.
I think we both spoke to two different people, or multiple
people for sure.
That they always come down to that. Like, I like feeling, someone next to me, knowing that I can be there, or someone can be there for me.
There's a lot of people who say, hey, I like being in a relationship. I just like being with somebody.
Doesn't mean that you should just get into any relationship.
Exactly, absolutely. So I think that's a fatal flaw that you have when you're in this position where I just have to be with somebody. And a lot of people are like, what's so bad about it? And so I think maybe we can take some time and kind of this week, I guess this episode, talk about kind of like the drawbacks of when you're struggling of being alone. Right?
I have a couple notes here.
Yeah. Okay. I guess how I'm going to address this. Well, I feel like the biggest thing, and I always tell people, you need to be alone when you don't want to be alone. When everything around you is like you feel like it's crashing around you. You have to really put yourself away from everything else and kind of feel whatever you need to feel, whatever you're going through, and kind of embrace it.
Yeah, I put like 5 steps of how to do it, and number 1 is feel the pain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like one of the few things I first talked about in my first book after getting over a heartbreak is feeling everything you need to feel, accepting that this is going to be very uncomfortable. And so if you're a person that doesn't like being alone, you're going to have to tell yourself, hey, the next few weeks and months will be extremely difficult. And after a while, it will get easier. I love being alone. I mean, I don't know. I'm speaking for myself. I like my solitude. I've learned to embrace it. And there's certain steps that you can take in order to kind of get better at it. Because a lot of people are like, where do I even begin, right?
Yeah.
How do I learn to be, like, I want to do this, but how do I do it?
Yeah, I think it's almost like people, they're always looking for the solution. I had a conversation. I actually sent someone a video the other day. It's Will Smith was talking about, like when you have to build a wall. I think it was for like his dad's house or something like that. You see the wall and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to build this. It's impossible. But if you lay the brick as perfectly as you can lay a brick, and then you lay another one and another one, eventually it turns into that wall. Right. So it's scary thinking of like, oh, I need to be happy right now. What do I do? But step 1 is, embracing and feeling that pain. And that's the first thing I said. You need to understand what rock bottom feels like.
Absolutely. 100%.
If you don't feel that, you don't go through that, you're never going to understand how to get out of it. You'll never understand the pattern of falling back into it. So really feeling the pain from the beginning. And like, you need to purge that. You really need to go through it. People will find distractions. I think distractions are good to start the healing process. However, if you don't understand the predicament that you're in, you thinking that this is the end of the world. Have you ever been in a breakup where you think that, oh my God, I don't know if I'm gonna ever survive. I just want to kill myself.
Yes,
you play with yourself so much,
exactly,
like in your head, that you're like, oh, I'd rather just die than feel this. And that pain is what you need to feel. If you don't feel that, then you'll never be able to compare. Because when you heal, you're like, oops, I can't believe that I allowed someone else
to provide that happiness.
That.
Yeah. I mean, and then I know it can be very hard, especially if you've been 2, 3, 4 year relationship or whatever, and you've parted ways, and all of a sudden you feel like your world is crashing, and you have to realize that yes, part of your world, that world is ending, and something has died, and you got to grieve, but that world with that person ended, but not your life ended.
Right.
So I think you really have to take yourself back, realize, okay, this is gonna suck, and go through it. Learn to be alone. Appreciate. This is also a beautiful transformation. I think you can learn so much. I've been in relationships. I've been by myself. I think the biggest growth that you can undergo for yourself, and then for your future partner and kids and everything, is when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
You can really figure out, okay, what do I want to do?
Self-discovery.
Exactly. Self-discovery. Because you can really, there's nobody altering your perception and you're influencing you. Yeah, you really can say, hey, exactly. What's my passion? What is my hobby? What do I love doing? What makes you tick? Like,
what makes me me? Or
yeah,
like what makes
yeah,
you,
absolutely. Like, what makes Christian Vera Christian Vera? What makes Marvin Schultz Marvin Schultz? And so for me, what I did is I, made a list. I made a, list of the things that I want to do in life that I want to accomplish. Right? You can do it for a week, for a month, for a year, and then you just check things off as you go. You go through life. You want to learn a sport, learn a language, travel, meet new people, try new foods. Really pay attention to what stirs your heart, what gets you going, what music makes you tingle, what kind of lightens up your eyes, what gets a fire going inside you, and those things you pursue, and you do it, and you focus on that. It's a beautiful transformation, I think, when you're by yourself and you could just kind of marinate in everything that's going on, and it's not always going to be pretty, but it's a transformation, and what comes out of it is so much greater than if you were to numb it with jumping into the next relationship. Yes, that's the easy thing, or going out and partying and drugs and da. And I get it. It's a quick numb. It takes away the pain, but the next morning you will never. It just comes down. It's a quick come down. You will never feel satisfied, right?
I put that as step 3.
Okay.
Which is distractions. Find a hobby, master it.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never traveled, book a flight.
Absolutely.
You stop something because of the relationship or something that happened that made you kind of, get out of it. Continue or start over.
Mm-hmm.
Or learn something. Challenge yourself, like a new language, like you said. You've always wanted to paint. You've always wanted to do photography. Go outside with your iPhone. Distract yourself. That's what I put for number 3. For me, step number 2 is understand the cause of why there was a breakup and why you're single.
Like as far as like a self-improvement almost, right?
Because one is, as soon as you break up, you feel like, okay, what do I do? Do I find a hobby? How do I heal? First step is you feel the pain, understand why you're there, understand what's going on, and really embrace your emotions to really understand who you are as a person. Sometimes if it's a long-term relationship, you're never able to do that, especially if you're jumping from relationship to relationship. You never know what it is you don't know who you are because you're always with someone. It's never going to be just Marvin. It'll be Marvin and so-and-so. My number 2 was understand the cause. So, for example, you cheated, figure out why. What happened? Did you fall out of love? Did you have a hard time being loyal? Were you in situations that there were just a lot of options? Did you like the thrill of just not getting caught? Or if it's just, a mutual split. If it's a mutual split, I think it's easier to heal from. But those are things. If you don't understand why it happened to begin with, you'll never be able to fully transition into the healing thing. The other thing is if they cheated, figure out why. Do they have flaws? Because sometimes you think that they're cheating on me because I did something wrong.
But 9 times out of 10 is because they're lacking.
Yeah, you can't blame it on yourself because they're cheating, and you'll never make up for it. That's just who they are as people, and no matter what, can people change? I think that eventually some people can, but if they're gonna cheat, whether you go crazy over it or whether you blame yourself or not, they're gonna do it regardless. Know your worth. If you did something wrong, don't be blaming yourself because again, it's all a self-reflection on them. They're the ones that did that. It could be insecurities with them. It could just be that, like what I previously said, it could be a thrill. Maybe they had a lot of options, or maybe they were in an industry or a job or a situation where they couldn't stay loyal. But don't blame yourself. Look at the bright side, and that's where the distractions come in for you to really start focusing on you. Once you can feel the pain, embrace it, purge it, right? Understand what led up to that.
Yeah.
And then you can start focusing on you to see, okay, I know what happened. I know how to heal. Let me start doing what I need to do.
Absolutely. I think when you jump from relationship to relationship, ship to ship, you don't learn how to swim. And sometimes you gotta struggle a little bit. And how can you become a better person if you don't have time to be by yourself and reflect on those issues? I remember when I got a relationship last year, beginning, I was a mess. But I needed that time, that year and a half to really marinate and kind of figure out what I need to do in my life in order to be a better person, better Marvin tomorrow. Because I was a piece of shit. I was garbage. I wasn't the greatest man that I knew I could be. And the person who I am today versus a year ago is a completely different person. But I wouldn't be who I am today if I would have jumped in another relationship 3 months down the line. I just wouldn't be. And I had the opportunity. It wasn't like it wasn't given to me, but I knew that I had to be alone for a very long time in order to figure out what I need to do in order to be the best person I could be. So I think it's crucial to kind of like put yourself and take yourself out of that.
I don't want to jump back and forth, but I do want to address something, but I'll go back to that. I have 2 more steps. Okay. So I would like for you, let me go over the steps and I want you to chime in. because then I want to go over what you just said about ship to ship and being.
Forgive me. Go
No, it's all good.
Okay.
So number 4 is remember who you were. Remember who you are. What do I mean by that? Where were you before them? Were you alive? Everything was fine before them? You were okay before you met them, right? Yeah. So if they're removed from the equation, pretend you never met them. Right? It's hard to say that, but if you know that you were able to be alive before them and you were able to do so many things before them, maybe they did make you better. Mm-hmm. You now being outside of whatever relationship that happened, for you to be single, it's now an acknowledgement based on the other steps that I said. You can now focus on you, no longer worry about what's going on with them, and really, push forward to be better. Because if you were good before, you were alive, you were healthy, you were doing something, you met them, they changed your life, or whatever it is, you got with them. They're removed from the equation, you're still you. Now, maybe even better, because you went through this experience that you were really, it could be traumatized, it could have been horrible, it could be toxic to the point that you really, like we had just said, that you don't even want to live anymore. But all those scars that were caused by those wounds, when they heal, will make you so much stronger. And you need to remember that at the end of it. Step 5 is gratitude and appreciation. The lesson you learn from this experience will help you heal and grow to be happy again. Pretty much what I had just said. Once you really go through all of that from start to finish and you feel that destruction, you acknowledge, you understand, you distract yourself to be better for yourself. Once at the end of it, you're going to come out so much stronger because you were able to overcome that. There's other things that we don't have that we can't control. You can control this. That's what people need to remember.
Yeah, I think beautifully said. I love it. I always said this too when I wrote my first book. It's remember who you were before they came crashing into your life.
Yeah,
exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah. Because we humans have the tendency, we fall in love with somebody and their needs become our needs. Their wants become our wants. All of a sudden, it's not what I want to do, it's what we want to do.
It's not exactly a bad thing.
No, not necessarily. But sometimes it could be so dramatic and intense that you don't even remember who you are. You don't forget. Yeah. It can happen. It happened to me. It's always good to have a healthy balance, but at the same time, sometimes you come out of a relationship and you look in the mirror and you're like, who am I? What do I want to do out of life? And that is the time where you want to have to be alone the most.
I think that's where the most opportunity is as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because now you can rediscover, like we just started off saying.
Re-identify yourself.
Figure out what it is, who you were.
Exactly.
Go back to that. Or start over.
Yeah. I say, you if you're heartbroken, great. It's the best time to kind of grow. You take all the pieces, you shatter them, and you build yourself out, new version, improved, and you grow. And I think that's the greatest thing. And another thing I also want to mention is you have to learn, I wrote this down, what you have to offer and not just what you can take. Because when you're in a relationship, you say, I need this person to make me happy. I need this person to do this for me. And you have to be able to say, what can I provide for somebody? How could you be happy? Well, how can you be happy with somebody if you can't even be happy with yourself?
Well, that's another quote that I think I saw Will Smith said, that he's like, her happiness is not my problem. It's not my job.
It's not my responsibility.
It's not my responsibility.
Absolutely.
She needs to focus on her happiness while I focus on mine. So then together is when we can be happy together and grow to make the happiness grow.
Absolutely.
You can't just be filling the void for somebody else and then having somebody else fill the void for you.
Yeah.
You're never going to understand how to move forward.
Absolutely. I've for me, I think we both are in the partner of life where we do not have that problem. For me speaking, I don't have that issue being by myself. Actually, on the other spectrum, we might even be on the other side where we've talked about this. We're so focused on our goals and our wants that there's a fire going. There's a fire going.
I love how we're feeding off each other.
Yeah, there's a fire going. And when you're so comfortable being by yourself, you're building up a wall. You don't see it a lot of times. You're building up a wall, and it's hard for people to break that wall down. Then again, it's nobody's responsibility to break down the walls that you've built. But that's also self-awareness. Solitude is great, but you have to be able to let people in as well.
I had asked one of my buddies the other day, and it was, can being alone push you to the other extremity, where you find happiness in yourself and realize, or at least you think that you realize, that you no longer need to open up to someone else. And you forget one other thing is you can also forget what it's like to be in a relationship, which could scare you.
What am I doing with
But you pushing yourself so far off to focus on you. And I had this conversation with somebody else that I was talking to. They were asking me for advice and stuff like that. And I told them, I'm like, you need you time. Literally what we're talking about right now, I told them. But don't go so far where you fall in love with yourself and you forget
how to love others.
how to be able to love somebody else.
Yes.
A lot of people, they're brought to this earth to give, to provide. And it's sometimes you don't even think about it, but you need to be able to provide for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where your own self-happiness comes from. But is it possible for you to push yourself so far? That's where I currently am at.
I feel
like I'm so happy with myself and what I'm doing in my goals and what I'm trying to accomplish. Bringing somebody in is very difficult.
Absolutely. But then the fact that you're aware of it is the first step. But you also have to realize it's not the other person's responsibility to kind of, for you to let them in. It's your job. Because you're in control.
Yeah, because if someone comes in, I have to be able to
open the door,
tell myself and say, you know what, I think it's time, or maybe this is the direction you want to go in. Until that, I haven't gotten there yet, and I think this is just part of this whole learning process. So I don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. No. I don't think anybody does. In fact, the only person that's going to have the answers that are best fit for you is going to be yourself. So you need to identify that for yourself. We kind of I think we're laying the blueprint of what should be done.
Absolutely.
For those who don't know.
Right. To give
I'm still trying to figure that out. Yeah. You know, how to move forward, you know, to the next step. And then people are going to probably say like, oh, you just have to, you know, go for it and stuff like that. It's very difficult when
it's easy,
you really close yourself off to find that true happiness for yourself.
Right. Because when you've been single for a year, 2-3 years, letting somebody in, it's like you also almost have to relearn. Yeah, exactly. And love is putting yourself up and being vulnerable. It's part of loving. But when you're so used to focusing me, which is great, it's hard to say us. Yeah. So it's something that you have to struggle with. But guess what? I think it's a battle that you need to be able to get into. But don't be afraid to fight it. If you're on that spectrum where I think we are, we're also at a very unique age. I mean, we gotta embrace it. We gotta love it. It's something. It comes with it. But yeah, don't be afraid to put down the wall that you've built up over all these months and years, because it's not nobody else's responsibility to put that wall down. So that's key. But ultimately, please, I mean, I've told dozens of people, learn how to be alone. I see it all the time. People they get out of one relationship, they end up in the next one 3 months later. And the biggest thing that I like telling people about solitude and becoming and loving yourself and learning how to be alone, you become one big thing, and it's being more selective. And you say, you become more selective because you say, I don't need to be with anybody. More careful, who you invest your time with, rather than saying
it's no longer time being spent. It's time you're
invested. That's crucial, because when you say, I got to be in a relationship, you just take the nearest next hand that you can find, and that even though it might not be the best option. And that's also when you become more selective, you will become more aware of red flags that otherwise you wouldn't see. And all the red flags, I think we talk about this another time. We only have about 10 minutes left. But you become more selective, you become more aware. You say, this is what I want, this is what I'm worth, and I'm not going to settle for anything less than that.
I think that there's a level of being able to give and receive at the same time, because another thing is we can't have expectations. Like, we can have a checklist for what to expect of people. You can't say, oh, the person needs to be like this, because not everyone is going to fit the mold that you want. It's going to be near impossible.
Right.
I don't think you should strive for anything less, but you need to acknowledge that it's going to be almost impossible for that to happen, where now you have to kind of give and receive. So that kind of goes off of what you're saying. You shouldn't, expect anything other than what you want.
No,
But sometimes, you have to be able to kind of understand that, okay, they have certain expectations. Does it fit with what I'm expecting?
I agree. And then, but also some people say hey, I'm not okay with this behavior in a relationship, but I don't want to be alone, so I'll take it. And so that's where it also comes in, where you say, hey, don't be afraid of being alone. And a lot of people who are afraid, or they don't like being alone, they put up with a lot more stuff than they should. And that's where the toxicity continues, because they get so comfortable, or like, but that's all I know, or they're holding on to what they used to be. I think we talked about this on another, I don't know, but they're holding off on who they used to be. Like, he was once like this, he can go back to that. Once you start seeing the patterns, and that's kind of what I said a little bit earlier, you kind of have to see, kind of build the timeline of why it got to where it is, where did things start changing, and see if there's patterns that continue to reinforce that. Because, it's hard to say, oh, I'm going to hold on even though I don't like them anymore, and there's all these red flags, because I knew that once he was like this, I can make him go back to that, or her, whatever. Mm-hmm. Oops. Yeah.
Anyways.
I think selectivity is a crucial part of self-love. And when you learn how to be alone, that's an attribute that you become more aware of, and you learn how to be selective, and not to the fact like, oh, like I'm a perfectionist, I need to be with this, like you were saying, not have this checklist, but at the same time know your worth and don't settle for anything that doesn't make you 100% happy, and that's crucial, right? So
you have other key points you want to go over?
I think
because I have a bunch of other ones.
Okay, like, and then maybe we can jump back and forth, but I think I'm
you're done with your topic because I have other things.
Yeah,
so here's another thing.
Carry on.
We were talking about, being single and people be jumping from relationship to relationship, right?
Go ahead.
So here's some of the things. How many followers would you say that you have? Like on your personal.
On my
like 10, 15?
Yeah.
Nearing 20. Okay.
Yeah.
So you obviously have a larger following, but imagine probably like these influencers that have many people.
Of course.
I would say it's hard for them to stay single when there's so many options knocking on the door and waiting in line. 'Cause that's another thing. And I'm picturing someone as I say this. I'm not gonna say any names, but someone with a large following like that.
Okay.
If you're with someone, whether you're looking at your DMs or not, or looking at your phone or not, or receiving messages or not, there's always gonna be someone.
Of course, there's always of course.
And that's kind of like how sometimes it's difficult, because if something doesn't work out, you start finding entertainment with someone else. So then I put, are we ever actually truly single? Or because sometimes you'll say, oh, I'm single, I'm not seeing anyone, I'm doing my self-healing, but then you're still talking to someone, or like you have someone else that you're flirting with, or you're kind of playing around with, or just trying to keep your mind off of it, so you're not going through these emotional roller coasters. You with a large following, larger than me, for example, we'll compare apples to apples,
right?
Or apples to oranges, but still, both fruits. You being single, you'll have a higher percentage of people knocking on, like, in your DMs.
Yes.
Than me. Okay. Wouldn't you say it would be more difficult for someone like yourself to stay single?
Oh yeah,
because you constantly have, I don't want to say a revolving door, but someone else is pulling a number, waiting in line. Someone else is like
absolutely. But yeah, I mean, and it has happened even more so now than like 8 months ago, because I feel like it has grown for me as far as the people that my following. But for me, I'm selective. I mean, how many people have you met that I introduced you to?
Yeah. Well, then again, you don't. Let's not talk about that, because you never talk about who
well, if they're important to me, then you would hear about it. But yeah, so no, like I'm very selective, and I meet people, and I can text people and things like that, but I'm very transparent with them and what I'm looking for. And like I said, if you don't meet my criteria, if I'm
but then does that ever make you single? Like, are you ever truly single then? If you're constantly,
I'm not like emotionally invested in anything, so I would say yes. Humans are social creatures by default, Yeah. You're not gonna isolate yourself in a room and don't talk to anybody because you're single, right? Yeah. So that as well. But now if you're going on dates and stuff like that, and having casual sex, this and this, not that there's anything wrong with it, but then are you really truly healing? Are you really single?
That's what I'm saying, because
I get you.
Because you're single. Okay, let's paint the picture based on what we had said. Let's say it was a bad relationship. You get single. How do I become single? How do I learn to be happy with myself? How do I embrace this? If you get out of a relationship that's very toxic, sometimes, like I said, people will have a revolving door, or someone else is up to bat, or maybe they don't, but maybe they'll just find someone else to flirt with, or talk to, or distract you.
Yeah.
I don't really think that you're ever healing. One of the first things I said was, you got to feel the pain. Understand why you're there.
I agree.
You really have to embrace that, purge that, get that emotion out, because if you never understand what that pain is like, you're never going to heal. Sometimes what people do is they'll just, keep entertaining other people. Oh, if you have a larger following, more people are going to be there. You're going to respond. Maybe one's going to, pique your interest a little bit more. So then what happens? You allow that person to come in. Do you ever fully heal? I don't think so.
Well, my last relationship, I got out, it took me months to even start dating again.
Okay.
So that I really took myself, and I didn't go clubbing, I didn't go partying, I didn't really entertain anybody.
Yeah.
And because I just wasn't ready. And I would tell girls who would, whatever, they maybe look lovely, whatever, I'd be like, hey, listen, I just got a relationship, I'm just not ready. And that's where you got to be transparent. But I agree, I get you were saying it's easy, especially if you have a huge following.
Or maybe you don't have a large following, but
I mean, yeah. Or
an attractive person.
Yeah, it can happen all the time. Of course, I get you. I think that's something to be aware of.
Yeah, I still feel like make sure that you find you have to be alone. and understand why you're there in the first place. So whether you're attractive, unattractive, however you want to paint yourself on the spectrum.
I think that's, but what you're pointing out, I think is precisely why, and I've told you this, I think women have a harder time of being alone than men.
I concur.
In 150%.
I think the people who have told you and have talked to me saying that they're afraid to be alone, were they any of them male?
No.
They were all women.
And you know when you see a girl, relationship, is you see a girl, you don't see guys doing it as much.
Yeah.
And I've told a lot of girls, and 9 times out of 10 a girl will be like, you know what, you're right. And they admit it, because girls don't like being alone. They don't like solitude as much as men can. You've been single for almost 3 years at this point.
Yeah.
I've been single for a year and a half, and I can go out another year and a half. How many girls do you know who've been single for 3 years?
I mean, I know a few, but I do
course.
understand that it could be a little bit different. And I don't want to say that it's because they just have a harder time. I just feel like it could be, tradition. Men are the ones that are always attacking, and they're always trying to, approach women, shoot the shot, right to them, go up to them.
Okay.
So when you have that constant knock on the door,
but should you always answer it? Like, isn't that?
I mean,
you're allowing it to happen at the same time.
Yeah, but so I mean, it kind of goes back to what you said. I mean, do you open the door and welcome them in and see what happens, or do you say I'm not ready right now?
Yeah, and that's the question.
But then you can lose the opportunity because you told them no. Maybe that could have been the next person. Because I don't want to also knock on people who jump to another relationship and then they find their soulmate either. It happens.
I know it could happen, but I wouldn't say. But I would. I mean, it's a tricky. I got 2 minutes left, so I could go back on that, and maybe you can come back and circle around another time. But I mean,
we could just extend it.
Tackle it.
Record.
All right. Well, yeah, like going from that, I mean, I think it's even, there's a chance that you could find your soulmate. Does that mean you came out of a 3-year relationship? Should you just date the next person 2 months later? I don't think so, because they could be your soulmate. And if they're your soulmate, you tell them, hey, I'm not ready. And then you could 6 months down the line, if you run into each other and you say, hey, you want to grab some coffee? And if that's your soulmate, I believe he or she will be available.
Well, yeah, there's a saying in Spanish, which I'm sure it's in English too. It's lo que está para ti nadie te lo quita. Like, what's for you is for you.
It's absolutely. And it might be a year, it might be 2-3 years, but life works out in mysterious ways. I truly believe that.
I concur.
I truly believe that. It's something.
I believe in destiny. I believe it's something is scripted beyond our control, and if it's meant to be, it will be.
Yeah. So that's why I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, like he might be he looks great. I just got out of a 3-year relationship, so I just gotta hold on to him, because that's not fair to that person either.
Yeah.
Because now you're holding on to this person because he might be your greatest person ever, but he's still bleeding. He's still bleeding.
And now that person may suffer the consequences of you not being fully healed because of your past.
So you still heal. You want to hold on to this person, but you're still having your own wounds to take care of. That's not fair either. That's maturity. Right. You gotta be like, if it's meant to be, we find each other again somewhere.
I like it.
But anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is a big topic. Obviously, we try to do our best to be as broad as we could.
Yeah, we're only doing 30-minute episodes. I see 30 seconds on the screen. 30-minute episodes. Eventually, we'll expand. Eventually, we will have guests where we will talk about everything and anything.
Yeah.
But as of right now, we're trying to keep it short, sweet, enough for a quick little coffee break, whether before work, during work, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for taking some time out.
Thank you so much, guys. Stay safe, please. And, thank you for checking us out. Happy Friday, guys. Hey, guys, thanks so much for watching today's content. We hope you guys enjoyed the show.
And if you did, please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment down below. And follow us on every other social media platform. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Go ahead and follow us, leave us a comment, and any feedback helps. Whatever you leave us, we'll be able to touch up on another show, or we'll be able to get back to you with any other comments. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.